A lakeside villa near Berlin once belonged to the propaganda chief of the Third Reich.
In seiner schwersten Zeit, da hinter Festungsmauern.
Today, the city is practically giving it away, with one condition: someone must restore it. Decades ago, that same family ended its life in a bunker as the regime collapsed. But here's the twist: descendants connected to that inner circle are still alive, and some are now among the wealthiest people in Europe. Today, we're going to find out. Where did the massive wealth of the Nazi elite actually come from? How was gold secretly moved out of Germany as defeat became inevitable? Who controlled the hidden financial empire behind the regime? And could some of that fortune still be hidden today? Adolf Hitler is often portrayed as a man indifferent to money. In reality, he was extraordinarily wealthy, and much of that was carefully managed behind the scenes. His book, Mein Kampf, sold more than 10 million copies worldwide. It wasn't just a bestseller, it was handed to newlyweds across Germany as a state-sponsored gift. By the time of his death, royalties had reached 78 million Reichsmarks, and thanks to legal changes pushed through by his inner circle, the copyright was extended far beyond normal limits. Hitler also charged for public appearances. Speeches brought in 250 Reichsmarks each. After becoming Chancellor in 1933, he licensed his own image, portraits, stamps, posters, photographs, generating even more income. But the real financial mastermind was Martin Bormann. Ruthlessly efficient and deeply loyal, Bormann handled the money. In August 1944, as Allied forces pushed into Western Europe, he gathered Germany's top industrial dynasties in Strasbourg. The message was clear: the war was turning, and assets had to be moved, fast. The gold of the Third Reich fell into several categories: Germany's pre-Nazi national reserves, gold seized from persecuted Jews and other victims, coins, jewelry, bullion, reserves looted from occupied countries including Austria, Czechoslovakia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, France, and Poland. And the most horrific category: gold taken from concentration camp victims, even extracted from bodies. By some estimates, the total reached the equivalent of $500 billion in today's value. At first, Swiss banks seemed like the safest option, but moving that much wealth quietly was nearly impossible. Instead, Bormann used the bank for international settlements and funneled billions through front companies, over 750 shell corporations operating in neutral countries and even in the United States. On paper, they looked like ordinary foreign businesses. In reality, they protected Nazi capital from seizure. Bormann had learned financial manipulation early, managing party funds in the 1920s. By the 1930s, he controlled access to Hitler himself. Information flowed through him. So did money. Meanwhile, Hitler lived lavishly. In Munich, he upgraded from a modest apartment to a 3,400 square foot residence filled with Renaissance art, expensive furniture, and curated decor. But his favorite retreat was the mountain estate known as Berghof in the Bavarian Alps. Purchased for 40,000 Reichsmarks, it was later rebuilt into a sprawling complex, costing roughly 50 million Reichsmarks, paid largely by the German state. Panoramic windows overlooked the Alps. Marble interiors, conference halls, luxury guest rooms, no expense spared. Bormann expanded the property aggressively, even threatening local families with concentration camps if they refused to sell their land. By 1943, underground bunkers and tunnels were added. A private administrative apparatus ran the estate. This wasn't just a home, it was a power center. Hitler maintained a fleet of gifted luxury vehicles, including armored cars equipped with internal weaponry and electromagnetic locks. For his 50th birthday, ministers organized a 5-hour parade and presented him with art, gold, rare coins, weapons, yachts, even aircraft. Wealth poured in from all directions: party donations, industrial magnates like the Krupp dynasty, and even foreign businessmen such as Henry Ford, who financially supported the Nazi movement. By conservative modern estimates, Hitler's personal fortune would equal roughly $3 billion today, and he wasn't alone. Hermann Göring built a private empire of his own. By 1950, investigators uncovered his hidden treasures in a Bavarian castle: 36 massive gold candelabras, silver bathtubs, over 100 million Reichsmarks in cash, and hundreds of stolen masterpieces. Göring possessed the second largest private art collection in the regime, surpassed only by Hitler. Works by masters like Sandro Botticelli and Peter Paul Rubens filled his walls. Nearly half were confiscated from Jewish collectors or bought for a fraction of their value under coercion. He even owned a 15-car armored personal train, complete with anti-aircraft guns, mahogany interiors, a communications wagon equipped with an Enigma machine encryption system, luxury suites, and conference halls. His lifestyle bordered on theatrical excess, Roman-style banquets, diamond-studded outfits, elaborate hunting displays. Behind the spectacle, however, was something darker. Göring was addicted to morphine after being wounded during the 1923 beer hall putsch, but he was politically indispensable. In 1933, he created a surveillance apparatus that intercepted international diplomatic and financial communications passing through Berlin. German intelligence monitored foreign embassies, bankers, industrialists, gathering secrets that could be exploited. Profits flowed not just into the state, but into private accounts. Swiss banks became safe havens. How much of that fortune survived the fall of the Third Reich is a question that still lingers. Another powerful figure in the Nazi inner circle was Heinrich Himmler. In 1935, he founded a research society obsessed with proving the mythical superiority of the Germanic race. Its members searched the world for legendary artifacts, the Holy Grail, the sword of ancient heroes, even lost treasures from medieval epics. But Himmler's real collection didn't come from myths. It came from confiscation. After the 1938 Kristallnacht pogrom, Jewish homes, galleries, and businesses were stripped bare. Himmler filled his private holdings with works by masters like Albrecht Dürer and Jacob Jordaens, along with Viking swords and priceless relics. He even ordered experiments at Dachau, initially chasing the fantasy of turning sand into gold. When that failed, the regime found a far more brutal solution. Prisoners' wedding rings were taken, gold teeth were extracted, forced labor generated profit, real money calculated down to the mark per inmate per day. In occupied Poland, Governor General Hans Frank issued decrees requiring citizens to report valuable art and gold. Masterpieces like Lady with an Ermine by Leonardo da Vinci ended up hanging in his residence. In North Africa, units under Erwin Rommel oversaw the seizure of millions of francs from Jewish communities. Jewelry, gold, watches, art, everything was taken. On the island of Djerba alone, 43 kilograms of jewelry were collected. As German forces retreated from Tunisia, crates were rushed to port. 2 hidden caches were later found. A third vanished. Treasure hunters still call it Rommel's gold, though evidence suggests he may not have personally controlled it. By the year 2000, roughly 329 tons of Nazi gold had been recovered worldwide, only about 1/5 of what is believed to have disappeared. So where did the rest go? High in the Bavarian Alps stands the former mountain retreat known as the Eagle's Nest, built as a gift for Hitler. Beneath and around such sites, treasure hunters suspect underground tunnels and hidden vaults. One location became legendary: Lake Toplitz in Austria, a deep, narrow alpine lake once used for secret weapons testing. After the war, witnesses claimed to have seen crates dumped into its waters. Divers later recovered boxes filled with counterfeit currency and a few gold bars. They also discovered a blocked tunnel leading to underground structures. But the lake has taken lives. Adventurers have disappeared, searching for what might, or might not, be there. Historians believe many of these sites were decoys, designed to convince the Allies the treasure was hidden locally, while the real shipments moved elsewhere. Attention eventually turned to the Vatican. In 1929, Benito Mussolini established Vatican City as an independent state. After the war, allegations surfaced that Nazi gold had been transferred through Swiss accounts into Vatican-controlled banks. Declassified documents revealed troubling wartime connections between Pope Pius XII and Nazi officials. An Austrian cleric, Alois Hudal, helped SS officers escape using secret rat lines through Italy. Some witnesses claimed gold traveled the same routes, allegedly protected by networks that even linked to the Neapolitan Camorra. Meanwhile, other escape routes led to South America. Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and Paraguay became safe havens for former Nazi officials. Operation Land of Fire, reportedly orchestrated by Martin Bormann, aimed to move assets to the southern hemisphere using cargo ships and even submarines. German U-boats had long operated transatlantic routes. Rumors persisted that Bormann himself was seen in Argentina and later Brazil. No definitive proof ever confirmed it. In the final months of the war, roughly 1,000 trucks and multiple trains left Berlin loaded with valuables. Many routes remain untraceable. Sometimes discoveries happened by accident. In 1945, American troops near Berlin were tipped off by former forced laborers about suspicious activity at a mine. Inside, investigators found 7,000 bags of foreign currency, gold and silver coins, jewels, and 8,500 gold bars, along with stolen artworks by masters like Pierre-Auguste Renoir and Titian. Yet even that was just a fraction of the total. In 2023, a US Senate Budget Committee initiated an inquiry into unresolved Nazi gold assets. The uncomfortable question lingers: how much of that wealth passed through American banks? Private businesses in the United States had commercial ties with Germany before 1945. Tens of thousands of former Nazi affiliates eventually found refuge overseas. As defeat became certain, the Nazi leadership created hundreds of fake caches, forged maps, and planted misleading documents. They ensured that treasure hunters would chase ghosts. 80 years later, the mystery remains. Was the gold lost in alpine lakes, hidden in South America, locked away in forgotten vaults, or quietly absorbed into the global financial system? Live in the moment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.